Looks like we're at 4 o'clock.
Are you still letting people in?
Everybody's in, Sheila, you're good to go.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining the Mid-Atlantic Teaching Artists Virtual Retreat. My name is Sheila Dean Ross, and I work at the Delaware Division of the Arts. The session today will be recorded and later shared, so please turn off your video if you do not want to be recorded. Today's workshop is called Exploring Virtual Engagement for Individuals with Developmental Disabilities, and will be led by Abby Schreer, Hayley, Sherwood, and Linda Carlton. I'll now turn things over to our producer for a brief review of some technical housekeeping items.
Thank you, Sheila. My name is Susan Zoll, and I will be the producer. I'll send you a chat out shortly as well, so you know how to connect with me. I wanted to point out how to pin the interpreter view if you would like to. If you haven't found the interpreter, you can scroll to Interpreter Jenny and point your cursor at the top right of the video. You'll see 3 dots and get a drop-down menu and then click on Pin Video. If you'd prefer to see all videos, you can click on Gallery View, which you can see at the top right of that image there, and it should be at the top right of your screen. If you click again, it will take you to Active Speaker View. You basically can toggle back and forth, so you can choose the way you want to view the screen. If you do get bumped out, I always suggest just use that same link you used to come in. As Sheila mentioned, it's getting recorded, so you won't miss anything. You can watch it later. And there's my name and number, which I will also chat out. If you get bumped out, can't get back in, feel free to give me a call. Wanted to point out some of the controls on your on the Zoom platform. If you point and hover your cursor at the bottom of your screen, your meeting controls should pop out. And I apologize, it's a little blurry, but on the far right should say chat. Click on that, it will pop out. And if y'all could just say, give me a quick hello to let me know that you found the chat box. Hello, Samantha, great. Hi, Heidi. All right, you guys are finding it. Also on your controls are to the left is participants. If you click on that and pop it out, I want to point out a few things. So once you click out on participants and pop out that panel, you can hover over your name to change your name. And if you would like to, and are comfortable, you can add your pronouns. So you can feel free to go ahead and try that now if you like. Then at the bottom of your participant list, there are some icons that look a little different than this, but you should see a blue hand, a green check, a red X. And can you go ahead and raise your blue hand just so I make sure that you guys have found that? All right, I see Eve and Samantha and Hayley and Heidi. And once again, if you need to find your participant list, point and hover your cursor at the bottom of your screen. Typically that's where it is. If not, try the top or the sides. Your controls should pop out. Click on participants to get the list. And at the bottom of that list, you'll see these controls. With that, and let me know if you have any questions in chat. With that, I'm going to pass it back to Sheila.
Thank you, Susan. I wanted to introduce our speakers for today. Abby Schreer is originally from Arlington Heights, Illinois. She's been living in New York City for 10 years. She is currently the Director of Programs and Operations, as well as a teaching artist for the Collab Theater Group, which is a nonprofit dedicated to providing individuals with developmental disabilities a creative and social outlet through theater arts. Hayley Sherwood is California-born, New York-based theater artist and is the program manager at Collab Theater Group. Linda Carlton is an actor with Collab Theater Group and has been a participant since 2012. Most recently, she was seen on stage in Collab's original musical Hidden Away. And I just gave an abbreviated description of our speakers today, but you can go I just posted a link where you can go to the NASA virtual retreat page, click on presenter biographies, and read much more about these very talented speakers. So without further ado, please welcome Abby, Hayley, Linda, and let's begin.
Thank you so much, Sheila, and thank you, Susan, for getting us all situated. We are all three so excited to be here, and we also want to extend our thanks to the Mid-Atlantic Teaching Artist Retreat Conference, especially Susan Otchin, who's been so helpful in getting us all set up, and really all of the state arts councils for providing this really important space for teaching artists to come together. It's important every year, and then especially this year, it feels even more important to come together and be here. As Sheila said, we are here representing Collab Theater Group, which is based in New York City. And before we get started, she sort of gave our intros of who we are. So we will just all give a quick image description so that you know who we are. My name is Abby Schreer, and I have long brown hair that is curled with a curling iron today. I'm wearing a black top, and I have gold hoop earrings and blue headphones. I'm sitting in front of a tan wall and a large ancient black treadmill. Hayley.
Hello, everyone. My name is Hayley Sherwood, and I use she, her pronouns. I'm the programs manager at Collab Theater Group. And for an image description, I have wavy brown hair, circular brown glasses, I have light pale skin, and I'm wearing a blue polka dot collared shirt. Behind me is a gray wall. And I will pass it to Linda.
Hi, everyone. My name is Linda Carlton. I am a Collab actor and leader. Today, I am wearing a sky blue Collab t-shirt and a satin black cap. And I have an oval face. I'm brown skin, and I'm sitting behind a wall where there's picture frames on the shelf.
Perfect. Thanks, Linda.
You're welcome.
As Linda mentioned, she's an actor and a leader with Collab, and our Leaders program is a group of experienced actors who take on a leadership role in the organization. So Linda is presenting with us at a conference today. They also will support in Collab classrooms and really be advocates and ambassadors for the organization around town. So we really look to the disability justice movement and their call of nothing about us without us. We think it's really important to include folks with disabilities at every aspect of our organization. And so that is why Linda is here representing the leaders today. Additionally, Hayley and myself are teaching artists at Collab, but we're also teaching artists outside at other organizations. So we're wearing our administrator hats, but also wearing our teaching hats, which is, I think, a big part of our knowledge that we're bringing here today.
Great. So before we get started, we want to get to know a little bit about who is in the room here with us. So we'll hold for about a minute, and we'd love for you to share in the chat your name, current city that you're in, any information about a role that you play, whether a teaching artist or an administrator, and any questions that you might have about working with individuals with developmental disabilities in a virtual environment. So that slide is all, that information is also repeated on the slide that is on screen, which has black text on a white background, and there's an image of two Collab participants with their hands in the air. So I'll give us just a minute to let those come in from the chat. I'm seeing them start to arrive, so thank you.
Well, Pennsylvania is definitely represented.
Great. All right. Those can obviously feel free to continue to share those with us in the chat. And obviously, if any other questions emerge, those can stay in the chat until we have a little bit of time at the end to discuss. This is a discussion-based session, so we hope that we'll be able to hear from everyone throughout. And then before we really dive in, I want to encourage everyone to take care of yourself during this workshop. Please feel free to change positions, drink water, leave your screen, and whatever you need to do in order to be comfortable. I would also like to encourage us, before we dive into the work, to take 3 deep breaths together. So I'll lead us in that. So we're just going to take a nice deep breath in through our nose and release it through your mouth. A second one in through your nose and let it out through your mouth. And a third and final deep breath in through your nose and let it out through your mouth.
Thank you, Hayley.
Lovely.
And Susan, we can go to the next slide. So on screen are 3 images of Collab. On the left, there's 2. The top left is 2 participants smiling at each other and looking at each other as they collaborate together in class. The bottom left is an actor and a teaching artist holding up signs that have stage directions on them. So they have center stage and upstage center. And on the right is a group of about 60 people all performing for Collab, wearing bright green t-shirts with their arms up in the air, performing choreography this past December. We want to provide a little bit of background as to who we are and why we're here today. So Collab is now in our 10th season, very exciting. And our mission is to provide a creative and social outlet through theater arts for individuals with developmental disabilities. About 80% of our programming is for folks who are 14 plus, so we serve a lot of adults in our programming. And we refer to our participants as actors. So throughout our session, you will hear us say actors over and over. Those are the participants that are in our programs. In our programs, we have 2 sort of main buckets. One is Collab Core, where actors come to us. We have weekly classes that culminate in semester showcases like the one seen here. We also have one-off sort of masterclass workshops and community events throughout the year. And the other bucket of programming is Collab Connect, where we go to our partners. So we've partnered with Lincoln Center, with YAI, with the JCC, and we bring our teaching artists to them and serve an existing group or a group that they've assembled. All of our classes are team taught by 2 teaching artists, and they are supported by our unique role of supporting artists, very creative name. And that is typically 4 to 6 individuals who are there to assist the teaching artist. They might model activities, and they're also there to support the actors in the room. So encouragement or a one-on-one to support. Susan, we can stop the screen share for a moment just for a breath, even though the pictures are very nice. During the pandemic, we, like many of you probably, had to make a quick pivot to virtual programming. So since March, we've offered Zoom classes, how-to videos, at-home activities, playwriting intensive, and social opportunities via the internet for our community. Hayley actually said it best when this all started, and we keep saying it over and over because she was so wise at the time. But we're really not looking for a Band-Aid on a temporary situation. We've been looking for things that will hopefully serve us long after the pandemic is, let's hope, over, and looking for things that will serve us long term. So we're looking at methods, at opportunities, at ideas, and we're hoping that they will serve us for years to come.
So we would love to equip you with some best practices when working and engaging with folks with developmental disabilities in a virtual setting. And we are hoping to learn from all of you as well in this shared space. We hope that you leave today with an urge to question how inclusive your practices and spaces are with regards to the disability community, and with some ideas to implement. We also want to make sure that you know what not to expect, which is that you won't leave this workshop being an expert on disabilities. Rather, you should leave with questions and curiosity and a hunger to be creative. And now I'm going to pass it over to Linda to share our agenda.
And Susan, we can share the slide again. Will be slide 9.
Here is our agenda of the day. Today we will do a welcome, introduction, collab, strategy, bank, scenarios, Q&A, reflection, and closing.
And Susan, can we go to the next slide?
And
Perfect.
oh,
Go ahead, Linda.
and now that we have finished our welcome, okay.
You're good. Keep
That
going.
was great. Keep going, Linda.
Good, thank you. Oh, agenda, okay. welcome, introduction, strategy, scenarios, Q&A, and reflection.
Perfect. Thank you. So now we're going to need to get a check, right, Linda? So a check is something that we get in our Collab classes, which helps us check off, literally, when we have finished something on our agenda. And so, Linda, could you show us what just a classic Collab check looks like? Maybe just like a big gesture and saying that word. Could you just show that to us?
Oh, I'm gonna do big like.
Perfect.
Maybe want to do a loud.
You think we should do it loud?
Yes.
Cool. Okay, great. So Linda will count. Hold on 1 second, Linda.
And everyone will respond with check.
Perfect. Exactly. So Linda will count us in, and then we'll all do it. Yeah.
Yes. 1, 2, 3.
Check.
Check.
Check. Excellent. Very loud. I could feel it. Perfect. So throughout our session,
thank you,
and also,
thank you, Abby.
Great job, Linda. Susan, you can go ahead and stop the screen share now.
Thank you, Hayley.
Good job, Linda. Thank you. So we want to be really explicit about why certain things are in our methodology. And we want to make sure that you understand why we do the things that we do. So there's 2 things so far that I wanted to point out. So the first is transitions, right? Shifting our attention from one thing to another can take a lot of time. It's important to take care when crafting transitions between activities, giving participants time to process switching gears. So for example, we did 3 collective breaths, which helped us to transition from our welcome moment into the bulk of the session. We encourage you to consider these transitions in your class, whether those are in person or virtual. And then the second is our agenda, which is a really important resource for many of our actors. Routine can be very valuable for the developmental disability population. Often folks can become fixated or distracted on something that is in the future, whether that's a task that will be within that lesson or that's a vacation in a month. And knowing the order in which things are coming can put them at ease. So especially during this uncertain and unpredictable time, we encourage you to lean into rituals, or maybe invent a ritual that might be especially helpful inside of this. So we've been using screen share agendas like this one, but you could even have like a physical object that you hold up that is also an agenda.
Great. Susan, we're going to share again. Thanks for hanging with us on this screen share off and on. I think it'll be up for a while now. And we're going to go to the next slide. Perfect. So on the screen is a big laminated poster that says Collab Pact. And Linda, can you read the items on the Collab Pact for us?
Linda, before you,
Linda.
Yeah, your microphone's muted.
There we go. Perfect.
Okay, I'm ready. Number 1, respect. Number 2, listen. Number 3, keep space. Number 4, all welcome.
Fantastic, thank you. So these are Collabs non-negotiables for our classes. Yours might be different, but having a set of rules that can be helpful for all participants, whether or not they have a disability. This way they can self-regulate, they can trust their peers to follow the rules, and they have a set of rules to help distinguish unacceptable behavior. In our classes, we spend a lot of time sort of exploring what this means, and now even in a virtual setting, we're coming back to it and saying, what does keep space mean when we're all on Zoom? It's a little bit different, and so we're having to sort of renegotiate what these things look like. We would sort of encourage you, if you have typical tools that you use in your spaces, clearly this is a picture of what ours looks like in person. Imagine what it looks like in a virtual space. So perhaps you can take a picture of it like this, or you can make a different version. So Susan, if you go to the next slide, It's going to show our mood meter, which as folks enter in-person classes, they have a little laminated picture of themselves with their name, and they get to put it up on a board for how they're feeling. They do this during our dance party welcome moment. And it's a great diagnostic tool for a teaching artist. Digitally, it's a little bit different. And if we go to the next slide, it shows a virtual version that we can share the screen and then either ask folks to type in the chat how they're feeling, share one by one, or even if we didn't want to use this mood meter, we could ask them to show in their body, can you show me how you feel right now? And we might see some exciteds, we might see some tireds, any sort of way to do a diagnostic check-in and to convert and keep those same rituals, but just translate them to a digital space. Linda, can we get a check for welcome? And do you want to pick loud or quiet?
This song is quiet.
You said quiet?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm ready.
Check for on a count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Check.
Awesome, thank you. And Susan, we can go to the next slide.
You will add.
So we are going to go into Collab's strategy bank. This is what we use when we're training our teaching and supporting artists, and it's been developed throughout the years. So it's grown, it's been edited, and basically what we call it in our printout version is strategies for working with Collab actors with developmental disabilities, ... or really anyone. These are really just great teaching tips. And I can say from a personal standpoint, my experience teaching at Collab has tremendously impacted my teaching outside of Collab, whether with people with developmental disabilities or with neurotypical populations. So as we transition to a digital space and we prepared for today and all of our teaching online, we sort of were like, what does Collab look like online? And we came back to this original list. Every other list we made just funneled right back here to the strategy bank. So we are going to share with you, walk you through some strategies. We'll give some examples of how we've shifted to a virtual space. And we ask that you sort of consider how these translate to your spaces and environments and to the internet. So I'm going to turn it over to Hayley to get us started.
Excellent, great. Susan, you can go ahead and click to the next slide. Perfect. So the first strategy in our strategy bank is to speak like yourself. So your intonation, volume, and tone should be the same when speaking to people with disabilities as anyone else. We speak to our actors as equals, naturally and authentically. And I think that this can obviously seem very simple to say, but I think a lot of us might know sort of our teaching voice or our sort of these other places we go. And I think it's really important to bring your most authentic self to the space as possible. A little virtual tip here on this screen is that you want to make sure that your microphone works really well. And maybe you need to get a headset, or maybe you need to sit a little closer to your computer so that your volume is really clear and that there's as little background noise as possible. Susan, you can move to the next slide. Great. So the second strategy here is to give people time. For many folks that take our classes, processing information can take a little bit longer. So slowing down your speech and speaking clearly can be very useful, and be patient when waiting for answers, whether that's a verbal response or a physical response. A good rule of thumb is to give 7 to 10 seconds for wait time after questions. This is actually a really appropriate amount of time in order for someone to process and form a response. And I find that it can be a really good practice, especially inside of these technical spaces, and we all feel really rushed to make sure it looks really good and everything's set, but there isn't actually a rush. And if we can get to what we get to in that time, then that's what we do. So I think sort of leaning into the time we have is really important. And we found that in a virtual space, we need to give people even more time. And like I said, give yourself time. I think that I know I'm used to jamming as much as I can into a lesson plan and trying to get towards the end of the semester. But in this time, we need to have that buffer for when things go wrong and when people might need a little bit more processing time. So time can really be on your side if you're generous with it. Susan, you can go ahead and move to the next slide. Perfect. So this third one here is to use clear language, especially in giving directions or asking questions. And I do want to acknowledge that on the first two slides, it did not give image descriptions, and I will do better on this one. Here you can see some actors are holding what look like bricks and singing and posing with the bricks in a rehearsal. So this third strategy is to use clear language, especially in giving directions and asking questions. So you want to give explicit prompts and provide one instruction at a time. So you should avoid providing a long list of instructions at once. It's important to craft your communication as carefully as possible. So for example, if you were to think of if the prompt was, do you want to join me in the circle, right? That gives the actor the option to reply with no. But if you say, it's time to join the circle, then that is a much more clear instruction, right? That says that that should happen right now. And so then a virtual tip here, and Susan, if you could move to the next slide. So we created a Zoom guideline that we shared with everyone a couple weeks into sort of that switch over to everything being virtual. And so our Zoom guide, our guidelines clearly states what to do, everything from renaming yourself to how our past translates to a digital space. So a little bit more specific information to Collab. Like I said, this was not something that we started out with, and these were sort of things that we picked up along the way that we learned that we needed to get everyone on the same page about, so that we were creating just as clear expectations for how to behave inside of our Zoom classroom as we did for our physical classrooms.
Thank you.
So
Next slide. Next strategy is offer modifications and options. And on screen is an actor and supporting artist, both wearing black shirts, working together in class, sort of sitting together side by side and looking down at what I imagine is a script or a prop, but I'm not sure. So sometimes our actors benefit from modifications when it comes to lines of dialogue or physical activity or participation in an activity. We advocate being very observant of your participants and advocating when a modification might be appropriate. That being said, providing some modifications proactively helps create a safe space where everyone feels like they belong. So if I am planning for a class, I might prepare, you can do this or you can do this, and offer that to everybody instead of halfway through the lesson being like, you know what, Hayley, why don't you do this instead? Our actors can also benefit greatly from having clear options, ask if they prefer option A or option B, and clearly communicate which option is which. If you go to the next slide, Susan, we have two things here. So on one side, on the right side of the screen, there's an image of a fist and an image of a palm. And what this is showing is that a lot of times in class, I'll say, would you like to be a squirrel or a duck in your scene? And then an actor can point to my hand. Digitally, there's some flipping that happens and it's hard to really tell where someone is pointing. So if I say, would you like to be a squirrel or a duck? Then an actor can come back and either put a hand up or put a fist up as their response, which is a much more clear way of distinguishing in a virtual space. We also are about to watch a quick video with our teaching artist, Laura, who has provided varied physical modifications that someone can take on with regard to choreography at home. They're teaching a song called Tangled Telephone Blues, and Susan, you can go ahead and play the video.
Okay, now that we've got our phone in hand, we can start to learn the dance. Our first move, we're gonna take our phone to our ear, and then we're gonna stretch our arm to our ear, stretch our arm. Great. Now I can stretch my arm any way I want. I could go towards the camera and away. I could go to the side. I could go the other side. I could go up or down. Whichever way you want to go, we're going to go away from our body and towards our body. Another option is if you have like a hair tie or something, you could attach your phone to your hand, and that way I don't really have to hold it. I can just, oh, that's kind of uncomfortable, like this. I don't have to hold it. I can just move my arm. Great. Another option is if I don't want to hold it at all, I don't want to move my arm, I could maybe like attach it in some way, and I can move towards the camera and away. Towards the camera and away. So you can get creative with how your phone is. Maybe.
Awesome. We can go to the next slide. So Laura provided all of those options as all very great options. She didn't say, this is the best way. She just said, here's 3 ways to do it, which we think is really great. Our next strategy bank tip is to engage authentically. And that really comes back to how Hayley talked at the beginning. To speak authentically, you also just want to be authentic, be your most authentic self. Connect with actors, discover commonalities and interests, and try to capitalize on actors' strengths as you get to know them. So if I know that someone's really great at dancing and they love to dance, maybe that's something I'm gonna lean into. If I know that someone loves Godzilla, I might lean into the Godzilla a little bit for some activity in class. If we go to the next slide, we have some examples of authenticity. On the left is a text message conversation between 2 of our pen pals. And so the text reads, do we have a pen pal call today? Can we schedule it for tomorrow? How about at 11? Can you FaceTime me or Zoom? 11 a.m. tomorrow is good. Great, we can FaceTime, sounds good. The pen pal program was a way for folks to develop relationships, actor to actor, and also actor to teaching artists or supporting artists, and as a way for folks to sort of stay connected to people during the pandemic while we had more time and maybe also we're feeling a little bit more lonely. There is a video on the right, which we are happy to paste in the chat. Susan, we won't play this video because I want to save on a little bit of time, but it basically, I'll explain it, is that it's our teaching artists all saying hello to the actors. So they say, I'm Hayley, I'm Chris, I'm Ariella, I'm in Brooklyn, I'm in Manhattan, I'm wherever, and we just wanted to say hi. Again, really trying to build human connections person to person between our actors and everybody else in our community. And we can go to the next slide. Utilize varied and visual communication tools. And on the right, there's an image of actor Matthew. He's holding up 2 puppets. One is a shark, and they're both hand puppets. One is a shark, and I'm actually not sure what the other one is. It looks like another sea creature, but I'm not positive. They're both gray. So in terms of utilizing varied and visual communication tools, as the teaching artist and as the facilitator, I have a lot of options, and not everyone is going to respond the best to verbal instruction. Some might, but some might need other tools to help sort of explain. I'm someone who's a very visual learner, so anytime there's imagery, it really helps me. When you can, use your body on the screen and also use other visuals to support when you're communicating. And we have a few examples here. So next slide. Teaching artist Laura, again, is using her full body when showing actors what to do. So if you can, a lot of time we're spending time in these little boxes here and sitting in front of a computer, but if you can scoot yourself back and get up and make it a little bit more active. Next slide is to the opposite, zoom in on some details. So instead of trying to fit everything into your computer's camera, use a phone and flip it and quickly film an activity. So this on screen is 3 cups of water with varying amounts of water in them, with a chart that says, a key that says high, medium, and low. So this was used in teaching music, but we've also used this type of video for crafts, choreography, scene work, tons of ways to do that where you get to become a videographer with your phone. Next slide. It bears repeating to use examples. So this was from a how-to video using art as inspiration for acting work, but you can easily share your screen to share images or videos or share audio to be inspired by, but as many examples as possible will just help different learners connect to the idea you're talking about. And one more is to keep it simple. So all imagery does not have to be super tech savvy. This is teaching artist John on screen holding up a piece of paper in which he's written the keyword ballet and put the definition of it. So a style of dance characterized by light, graceful movement. He just held this up to the screen. He didn't have to worry about a share screen or a slide deck. It was super simple, but it was a way to really get the message across. Fantastic. We're going to go to the next slide. And Linda, can you share the next strategy bank strategy?
And before you get started, Linda, make sure your microphone is unmuted.
page 6, right?
Yep.
Okay. Use positive reinforcement. Make sure to affirm when actors are doing something that you asked to do correctly. A small thumb up or high five can go a long way. The image on screen is of Collab actors holding up post-it note of compliments that they wrote for each other in class.
Perfect.
B,
And we can go, Susan, one more slide. Perfect. Go ahead, Linda.
oh, okay. Be courteous and after they ask participants what's working well and what might be frustrating. Be flexible. Try things out and modify as you go. Show grace and humility in this progress.
Awesome. Thank you, Linda. And Susan, we can go to the next
Thank
slide.
you, Hayley.
Our
Thank you, Abby.
presenter, Hayley, got dropped for a second, but she should be returning any moment. So I'm going to step in for a moment. And the last one is a bonus strategy, but it is let technology work with you, not against you. And it's funny that that's the moment that Hayley got dropped in the Zoom. Hayley, you want to take over?
I would love to. Can you just let me know where we left off?
Yes, I just read the strategy, number 9.
Oh, great. Did Linda shared your strategies?
Yep.
Oh, I missed it. How'd it go? Good? Okay, great. So we should look at slide number 30, right?
We're there. Yep.
We're there? Okay, great. Awesome. Cool.
We're at the right slide.
Okay, cool. So we can go to the next slide, Susan. Perfect. So we have a game that we like to play in our Collab classrooms very often called Yes, It Is. And this is a game that we usually play in a circle. So we use the frame of our video screens to simulate passing an object for this video. And we were able to give really clear instructions to our actors, and a lot of caretakers also participated as well. So we'll just show you a little bit of that project, which I think was a really fun one for our actors.
This is an umbrella. Yes, it is!
Hi, Maggie. Up and down. Wrap it out. Bye, Maggie.
Yes, it is.
This is a tiny mirror just for your nose. Looking good today, nose.
Yes, it is.
Awesome. So again, that required a little bit of editing on our end, but it was also an opportunity to give clear instructions and then get to really see an exciting result when it came back. We can go to the next slide, Susan. Great. So screen recordings are another really great tool. So this is when you take a screen capture or video of what's happening on your computer screen. And so then you're able to really share what that process looks like on your screen. And so this can help to explain steps. It can also guide individual work if you're saying, okay, everyone, now go do this on your own, not when we're in this Zoom call. So these can be really helpful to get that step by step. Susan, if you want to play this bit of the video, that would be great.
Access a lot of amazing art on the internet, just in case you're having trouble finding enough inspiration at your house. Let's check it out. The first thing you're going to need is a computer or a cell phone, basically any way to access the internet. I like to use Google Chrome, but Safari, Firefox, or any other web browser works. Go to your browser and type in artsandculture.google.com. It's a pretty cool feature. I've only recently discovered it myself. Whoa, look at all that art they have featured.
Awesome. We'll never know what the art was. But so that you can do that on your computer. There's also a program called Bunsy that does great screen recordings for you, and it can have your little video up in the camera, up in the corner, so that the participants watching the screen recording can see you. Okay, Linda, it's time for us to get another check. Can you give us an emotion that we can layer onto this check? And before you get started with, I know it will be a brilliant answer, make sure you unmute your microphone. Perfect.
Oh,
Go.
I want to
What
do
kind of emotion?
a mad check.
Mad.
A mad check.
Like,
yeah, sometimes you got to get that out. Okay, so will you count us in, Linda, and then we can all try our hand at what a mad check is? All right, we'll wait on your 1, 2, 3.
1, 2.
Check.
Ready. 1,
Awesome.
2,
Double
3.
check.
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 Oh, good. We did need a double check.
Yeah,
Susan, you can stop the share for a moment. So folks, now that you have the strategies, or some of the strategies, our strategies, we're going to try to put them into action. So through the years, we've come across many scenarios at Collab. I'm sure that you've come across your own scenarios, and I'm sure that the scenarios look even a little bit different in the past 6 months. So we've adapted some of our scenarios that we've encountered in the past and included some things that we've experienced online in recent months. So we're going to read some scenarios out loud, and I will paste the scenario into the chat if that's better for you, and give you a moment to consider how you might approach. Then we'll ask some volunteers to offer ideas out loud, or you can offer ideas via the chat, and Hayley will help facilitate that conversation. So I encourage you to consider options from the strategy bank of what might apply, and consider how you might personally approach it, and then also consider your organizational culture and what that adds to your approach. Most of these don't have a right or wrong, so we're not trying to trick you. We're really trying to work together to come up with as many potential options for approaching a situation as possible. So, Linda, will you go ahead and read scenario number 1, and I will paste it into the chat.
If you have a participant who continues to unmute himself during class and offer comments that are not related to class, how will you approach this?
Great, thanks, Linda.
Well,
So at this moment, folks can feel free to respond in the chat, or if you'd like to come off mute and offer a strategy or something that would work, that's great too. I'll be sort of toggling back and forth. I can't, because I had to switch to my phone, see who's raising hands. So Abby, if you're able to help me with that, that would be great. Awesome.
We have no raised hands so far. Hayley, do you want to offer some of your ideas?
Of course. So I'll just repeat the scenario here. So we have a participant who continues to unmute himself during class, right? So we're all familiar with the fact that you can sort of go on mute and off mute. And in some cases we might, I think a lot of us have been in situations where everyone's on mute for the whole, experience of that session. So how might we approach if someone is unmuting themselves without any prompting? I think that one of the most important things to consider here is the expectations and classroom agreements. And so whether that is how we express ourselves, how we express our respect, and how we express that we're listening to one another, right? And so a reminder of the agreement to that, however it might be expressed in your agreements, could be great. I did see something pop up in the chat.
In the chat too. Perfect.
As Samantha offered, I think if you have set up the pack that agrees on taking space, this can be used to remind our participants about sharing the space with others. Exactly. So just referring back to what everyone agreed to and how unmuting oneself is actually is taking focus and taking attention away from whomever might be speaking at that time. And again, this doesn't have to be like a specific like individual reminder. This could be a full group reminder, right? Because we're all going to have moments where we maybe accidentally forget to unmute ourselves and then there's some background noise or something like that. And I also encourage you to think about what behavior protocol is set up. Maybe there are 3 strikes for something or other respectful, other ways that we sort of track respect in our space. And then maybe the act of unmuting is what is exciting, sort of having that control. So you could play around with maybe having everyone unmuted and see, since, you know, in-person classes, we do not have this button, and we have all kinds of other things that we do in our classrooms in order to do behavior management. I found in our Collab classes that we've been playing around with our classroom sort of like quiet tool, and just leaving everyone unmuted and that they have the power over that has been really helpful. I don't think I saw anything else come in from the chat. So Linda, would you like to read our scenario number 2?
Okay. You have to choreograph a full ensemble dance for your group, but it seems like folks have very different space at home. How can you choreograph that everyone feels included and successful?
Thanks, Linda. I'll give everyone
You're welcome, Hayley, no problem.
Great. I'll give everyone a second to think about that one. Again, it's how might we choreograph when everyone is obviously going to have really different space limitations from wherever they're viewing, whether that might be in a car, that might be in a small room, that might be in a big room. And what can we do about that? Great. I can provide some thoughts myself. So the first one is to collaborate with your participants, right? So ask them for suggestions. What are some ideas they have about what they see from other people's spaces and how we might all work together? You can use technology to your own advantage, right? So focus on the frame as if that's your stage. So what can we explore with depth and proximity when we all can at least control this space that the camera can see? I saw something come into the chat before I go on any further with my list of things. Let's see what Samantha had to say. Okay, great. Thank you, Samantha. Providing those modifications as demonstrated in the teaching artist video from earlier. So the TA did a great job of providing really good options for all. Thank you for that, Samantha. So that there can be sort of a list of different options, and there's no one right way to achieve the choreography, but there are multiple modifications. Great, Samantha, thank you. I also want to add that separating the dance into sections, so that maybe there's the folks that can stand in their space are doing a certain set of moves, the folks that are seated have a different set of moves, and that we're separating that based on what kinds of options there are. So I think that those have been some things that we've been able to play around with in our classroom so far.
Awesome. Thanks, Hayley. I'm going to jump in, and as facilitators, we're going to have a transparent moment in front of everyone, which is something that we highly encourage at Collab to our teaching artists. And that is that we have 2 more scenarios to go, and this is also a transparent moment with everyone in the session, but we do want to save time for Q&A. So I will encourage you, if you did have a question for myself, Linda, Hayley, or all of us, go ahead and put that into the chat now so that we can save time to address them. If we don't have any questions come in, we'll do one more scenario before we wrap up. but we want to make sure that we save time for all of you. So we'll wait for just a moment. Okay, it seems like nothing is super burning, but if something comes to you and you have your own scenario, please let us know. We will finish up with the scenarios that we have planned. So Linda, go ahead and read scenario number 3.
You are having trouble understanding a participant, which could be due to mic problems or the speech. How do you navigate this?
All right, for this one, I'm gonna ask Linda to help me out with some responses. Linda, can you unmute yourself?
I'm ready. All right.
All right.
Oh, I
Have an idea. What do you think someone might do if they're having trouble understanding someone that they're on a Zoom call with?
They could raise their hand, or they could write something to the chat room host who's up hosting the Zoom.
That's right. So they can use all of the amazing features of Zoom in order to try to get that answer, so that maybe they don't need to rely on verbal speech, right? And you could repeat it back to them, and they, and therefore you might know that there's a word missing or something like that. And you can always give directions, right? So if someone, I know that oftentimes I speak too fast. Right? And it's helpful when someone says, Hayley, slow down, right? Can you repeat what you said, but slower? And that shouldn't be seen as, as a critique, right? That is offering an, clarity so that everyone can participate in that moment. Thank you, Linda. Do you want to go ahead and read?
You're welcome, Hayley. No problem.
Should we read the 4th scenario, Abby? Cool.
Yeah, and we probably just won't spend a ton of time on it, but we can.
Okay, great. All right, go for it, Linda. Read that 4th one.
Okay. One participant made a rude comment to another participant. Typically, you will speak to this participant privately in the hall. How can you adjust?
Great. So this scenario is referencing, especially when you might need to have a private moment with someone in the classroom, I'm sure happens all the time, and how we do this when we're all in the same virtual space. Any thoughts from the chat? Hold on, Linda. I'm gonna wait to see if anyone else has an answer, but then you can give one.
Nancy in the chat says private chat message. Love that.
Great. And
Paige seconds this.
Great. Totally. We can use the direct message feature. You could also go into a breakout room with just that one person, so that you can have maybe a lengthier discussion if that's needed. Of course, always follow up after class. I find that people are a lot more willing to pick up the phone these days and talk in more detail. And I think that can be used to our advantage. And also, it's okay to have a conversation out loud in front of the whole classroom addressing this behavior, right? There could be someone else who needs to hear this, and it could have been harmful for the person who maybe heard that rude comment to hear that we're working through why that was not okay in public. So those are our scenarios.
Thank you, Hayley.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to move into sort of our closing moment. So I want to thank everybody for your participation, and for those of you who've shared in the chat, thank you so much. We hope that you're leaving having learned something new or have a new question to explore. You're welcome to reach out to us afterwards. You can email us at Collab. You can follow us on social and just see what's going on at Collab. And thank you so much thank you for coming, and it's great to be connected to you. My words are stumbling. We are going to do our Collab ritual closing, and then we'll hand it back over to Sheila and Susan for closing remarks and the poll. So Susan, if you don't mind sharing for us one more time, we have a call and response that we do at the end of every single Collab workshop or event, no matter where we are. And Linda is going to lead us in our closing. So she will say and do something, and we will all respond after her. So if you'd like to take yourself off mute and or bring your video up, you're welcome to. If not, we will trust that you are doing the closing in your own home. So Linda, whenever you're ready.
Oh, can we get one more?
Oh, we can get one more check. I'm so sorry. We forgot. Thanks for keeping us honest.
You're welcome. Oh, can we do a happy check? This one is going to be a rock and roll check.
A happy rock and roll check. Yes, we can.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, check!
Check!
Awesome. And now closing whenever you're ready.
All right. Everyone ready? All right. I take from the heavens.
I take from the heavens.
All that I need.
All that I need.
And I bring it into me.
And I bring it into me.
I take from the earth.
I take from the earth.
All that I need.
All that I need.
All that I need.
All that I need.
And I bring it into me.
And I bring it into me.
And when I have it inside me.
And when I have it
inside me.
I give it away.
I give it away.
Nice job, Linda and Sheila.
Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Ellie.
Okay. Is that all, Abby?
That's all.
Okay. Thank you. Well, thank you, Abby, Hayley, and Linda, and thank you everyone
Thank you, Sheila.
for attending today's session. Before we end, we would love to take a minute to hear from you on how this workshop resonated with you. Our producer will now post a quick poll. While you all are doing that, I just wanted to remind you again that recordings of this workshop and others will be available on NASA's YouTube page within the week. Look to the chat to see a link to our Facebook group, and I am posting that now. If you aren't already involved, please do join us there to offer your reflections on today's workshop. Also, watch your email inbox for a brief survey every Friday of the retreat to let us know what you think. So we hope that you will join us next Tuesday for next Tuesday's sessions, which will be creative aging during COVID and putting the focus on photo essays. And on Thursday, tomorrow, please join your state cohort for the weekly meetup. So the 2020 Mid-Atlantic Teaching Artists Virtual Retreat is a co-sponsored project of the Mid-Atlantic States Arts Agencies in partnership with the National Endowment for the Arts and the National Assembly of State Arts Agencies. We are so grateful for the generous support of all of these collaborators, and we are grateful for your participation today. So thank you, everyone, and goodbye.